Competitive can be tough, we've all done the climb. Sometimes, it might even feel impossible to get to your desired rank no matter how hard you try. But what if I told you there's something you could do that, when practice, will get you to the rank that you want? I'm Grandmaster Prey, and today we're going to be looking at how you can climb out of each rank, as well as the habits and issues each rank has. Before we get to it, note that these are generalized ideas about each rank from what I've seen and what I've been told by people that have played in the rank. Also, make sure to check out GameLeap.com for hundreds of guides for any hero made by top 500 professionals. So, let's talk about bronze, the bottom of the ladder. The worst of the worst. Or is it? Yeah, there's no sugarcoating it. It's the bottom of the ladder. People in bronze either have bad aim due to being new to FPS games, or just games in general. If someone's in bronze and they're fragging like lunatics, but they're still hard stuck, then their problem is poor positioning, poor understanding of how the game is meant to be played, or just no communication. Aim can only take you so far in Overwatch if you don't know how the game works. For example, someone that came from Call of Duty and other running gun games might have a hard time getting out of bronze even though they have good aim, but that's just because they don't know how the game works. So they insta-lock Soldier McCree and just run and gun, only to be shut down by a 500 HP tank only to cry on the forums. If you've just started playing the game and you're in bronze, just make sure to brush up on grouping with your team instead of going lone wolf, because if you go in alone, you're probably going to run into a big bad roadhog and feed. Otherwise, if you've been in bronze for a while, no judging, then try keeping track of where you're positioning, what you can see, what enemies can see you, and what your impact is for being there. Now let's move on to silver. Silver and bronze have the same issues, but the problem I see with a lot of silver players is that while they may have a general sense of, if I group up with my team then this happens, they have a problem with target priority above all else. Like for example, you'll generally see silver players attacking anything red just to do damage with no reason. That paired with suboptimal aim means that they don't know how to get into a point as a team without getting killed, and they also don't know how to take advantage of picks. Now, let's talk about what a silver player can improve on to climb. To get from silver to gold, a silver player should start looking into what each hero does and the importance of them getting picked off. For example, if your team picks off an enemy healer, you're going to have a massive advantage that you can take advantage of in silver by just holding W as a group to win. Just note that main healers, which include Mercy, Moira, and Ana, and main tanks, which are Reinhardt, Orisa, and Winston, are the most important heroes that determine a fight. If you see them fall, start screaming for your team to push. If you have decent aim, and you're a DPS player, study the maps and start seeing where you can flank to pick off people behind the enemy front line. Remember that high ground is key. Let's move on to gold. This is where the majority of people fall under. At this point, players have improved their positioning and game sense, but not by much. For example, a gold player might know good spots to flank, but they don't know how to react when a flank doesn't go their way. They also try to fight people that have a better effective range than they do, ultimately leaving them picked off. And at this point, team composition is very, very important. In this meta, the best general composition is 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 2 supports. And if you don't have that, then you're going to be ultimately at a disadvantage than a team that has that team composition. There's a reason the meta is the way it is, and in general, if you want to climb, following this 2-2-2 team composition guideline is going to win you way more games. You know, I can't stress enough how much of an advantage it is to be flexible in who you play. Learn at least 1 or 2 heroes from each role that you don't know how to play. It's just unbelievably important, especially when you're the savior of a game when your team won't switch and you have to pull out that pocket pick Reinhardt. Ah, Platinum. The last of the bland looking ranks. Diamond and above only gets shiny from there. Now, anyways, the reoccurring issue I see in Platinum is cooldown management. At this point, someone can have good enough aim to be in Diamond or even a Masters player, and even equally good positioning, but their cooldown management just keeps them down. What I mean by bad cooldown management is using a hero's abilities for no discernible reason, leaving them with little to no impact in a fight, because unlike the ranks below, this is where it takes more than just clicking heads to win. A good example I see a lot in Platinum is an Ana just randomly throwing their sleeps or nade for no reason other than to make a cool trick shot snipe, or even a Reaper or Moira using their fades just because it helps them move faster instead of using it when someone is on them or when they're about to die. Meanwhile in top 500, Ana sleep and nade is just enough to win a whole team fight. It can be the same in Platinum, but a lot of people just autopilot here and throw out abilities for no reason. If you're having trouble in Platinum, try this exercise. Whenever you use an ability, think to yourself why you did that and what impact it had. For example, if you're playing Zarya and you grab, think to yourself if you could have won that fight without using it. Also, when you do die, take a glance at what cooldowns you did and didn't have, and what you could have done if you had or used the cooldowns that was up. Now let's talk about Diamond. Big Boss Jane says something very applicable in Diamond. So, you have to finally go beyond just press W until I find red people, then press Shift, E, and Q until they die, and start to figure out your matchups, who on your team you synergize with, who on the opponent's team you counter, and making sure that you are hunting down the targets that you are best suited for defeating and assisting your teammates who you work best with. What he means is that people at this rank are going to start utilizing a standard 2-2-2 team comp most of the time, but the problem is that they won't have a solid grasp of the classifications of main and off tank, hit scan and projectile, and main and off support. Even though the heroes are separated by tank, DPS, and support, they're actually subclasses in the game that when picked properly will give you an edge to win. Let's go through the subclasses and what it provides for the team, and what it counters. First off, let's start with main tank. Main tanks are Reinhardt, Orisa, and Winston. They're bringing the front line to a team composition with their shields and high health. Off tanks include D.Va, Zarya, and Roadhog. Off tanks alone can't provide a good front line due to their lack of shields, but when a main tank is paired with an off tank, it allows for the off tank to make more space with their additional ability to protect. Hitscan refers to shots that register upon clicking. Examples of hitscan DPS include Soldier, Widowmaker, and McCree. These guys work extremely well against high mobility such as Tracer or Genji, or flying heroes such as Pharah or D.Va. Projectile refers to shots that take time to reach a destination, and some projectile DPS include Pharah, Hanzo, and Torbjorn. These heroes generally have higher damage values, but it's harder to hit things because not only do you have to aim, but you also have to predict their movements. Main healers include Mercy, Moira, and Ana. These are the heroes that deal with the most healing in a composition, with the disadvantage of having little to no peel abilities or CC. But this is where the off healers come in, which include Lucio, Brigitte, and Zenyatta. These guys have less healing, but more utility. They pair well when peeling off an enemy from their main healer so they can output that healing. Now, what a lot of people get wrong here is that when picking a team composition, they'll use 2 off tanks or 2 off healers, and even 2 projectile DPS when they're countered by a Pharah Mercy combo. In Masters, players have a general decent understanding of the game, what each hero does, what counters each hero, and how to apply all of it to make an amazing team composition. Also, communication will be a necessity as the large majority of people in Masters communicate well. The problem that people in Masters have are more advanced concepts and strategies, such as flanking and map control. Once you hit Masters, Overwatch becomes less of a game and more like a competitive sport. Everything is taken more seriously, and those advanced strategies are vital to winning. Also, there's more people here that have aim and tracking equal to Grandmaster or top 500 players, but what keeps them down is that they can't position well. Another huge problem that Masters players have is ultimate tracking. Ultimate tracking is extremely important, and when that knowledge is mastered, I guarantee you'll have a way easier time getting to any rank. Start by going into a custom game and shooting bots to see how much it takes to charge the ultimate. Take it to competitive by tracking 1 or 2 people's ultimates, preferably ones with high impact like Reinhardt's Shatter or Zarya's Graviton Surge. The general rule of thumb for tracking ultimates is that unless they've been popping off on the kill feed, it's going to take them 2 average fights to get their ultimates. Keep that in mind when calling out what the enemy has. Once you master that, take it up by tracking more players' ultimates. I highly recommend tracking Zenyatta, Lucio, Reinhardt, Zarya, and finally, Ana's Nano and Genji's Dragon Blade combo, as those will be the most common ultimates that will shift the fight around. You also need to start communicating with your team what ultimates the enemy has so that they can play accordingly. For example, spreading out when Zarya has Graviton Surge, or having your Zenyatta save Transcendence for a nasty Genji Blade. Additionally, keep your high value ult safe, such as Zenyatta or Lucio's ultimates, because if the enemy is smart, they'll try to pick them off first before engaging with ultimates. Finally, let's talk about Grandmaster and up. Surefour said the most genius thing, and this is that there are 3 factors that make a good player: mechanics, game sense, and positioning. To be Grandmaster, you need to have perfected 1 of those skills. To be top 500, you need to have perfected 2, and to be a pro player, you need all 3. Now, mechanics, game sense, and positioning are three main aspects of Overwatch. Of course, each can branch off to different parts, like game sense branching to countering heroes to ult tracking, but these are the general three factors. Now, in Grandmaster, you'll have people that have perfected their aim to almost a professional level, but lacking game sense and positioning, and vice versa. Now, there are limitations to this per role. Tank and support players require game sense and positioning, but not so much mechanics. But as a DPS player, you need to have mastered mechanics as one of the factors. If you're Grandmaster, really analyze what those factors are, because if you can hone your weaknesses, you're definitely going to hit top 500. Now, remember to practice what I talked about in this video if you want to rank up. With enough learning and dedication, you'll be able to get out of whatever rank you're in. What better way to practice this than using GameLeap.com, as we have countless guides made by top 500 professionals that teach any hero down to a science. Become a god and start off with a GameLeap membership today. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out.